Welcome to the Healthy Metal Hippie podcast, where art and wellness collide. I'm your host, Ashley, and I am so excited to connect with you today. Now, let's jump into today's episode, ready to rock and with an open heart. Well, hi and welcome back to the Healthy Metal Hippie. I just wanted to hop in today and introduce part 2 of our episode with Dawn Baxter. It was, honestly, we could have talked for like another 5 hours, I swear to you. It was such a wonderful episode, and it was really nice to just talk freely about the impacts that abuse has had on both of us, and and speaking about living, working, and doing everything with ADHD. And so I hope you enjoy part 2 of this episode, and let me know, send me a note, let me know how you love it. See you soon. See you on the other side. Bye. Yeah.
They know I'm not fake. They know that I genuinely care, and I was unwavering in it. The power, and there was probably somewhere of the region of an audience base of about 15,000, 20,000 women at that point. But I sat there in the knowledge that I almost had 20,000 sisters holding my hand in that moment. Like, the words you're saying right in my face cannot penetrate, because deep down in my soul, I know there's at least 20,000 other women, other lights in this universe that would stand with me in this moment and go, fuck off, mate. She's great.
It's true.
The power. They would. But the power in that moment, the shift in his control over me in that moment, profound. And I can tell you the day that was. That was the 21st of September, 2021 or 22. I forget which year it was. It definitely wasn't 23. I feel like it was 21. Because I packed my shit and I took my kids and I went to an Airbnb for 3 days. And stupidly, I did go back. It took me the average 7 to 8 escapes before I actually left. But I did.
But I did leave. You get stronger.
Every single one, you get stronger, and every single time you get away and you just have 2 or 3 days out of living in that environment, you recognize what life could be like, and you get a taste for it. And you realize that actually the amount of pain I'm living in daily is worse than the heartbreak of leaving him. And don't get me wrong, leaving him was, I think, the hardest thing I will ever do in my entire life. And I was having a conversation with a friend a couple of days ago, and she was like, I love your ability to attach to so much, but also be willing to detach from things that are toxic or negative. She said, and I think that is a new thing for you. That's a new talent that you've acquired. And that's the lasting gift that he's given me. The universe made my favorite person in the world into a fucking monster. And I had to walk away from what I thought was going to be the most profound, more than a lifetime love. Nothing will be harder than that. Nothing.
Yeah.
And now I've overcome that, and it's just in some degree in me walking away from that, and the desperate pain that caused me, the deep psychological and emotional pain that caused me. I'm so grateful for it. Like, it's so hard when you're in it, but my God, on the other side of it, I'm so grateful for it. I'll always be grateful to him for dragging me to the depths of my soul, because there were things that I healed there when I got there that I would never have touched without him.
Yeah.
But lovingly, don't ever want to be anywhere near him. Which is difficult when you co-parent with 2 kids, but it's it's an interesting dynamic. And the other thing is as well that I really want to say, and I think you probably would agree with me on this, when you're in that dynamic, you think that that's your only option, and you think that you won't find love elsewhere, and you think that once that is broken, there'll never be anything else for you. And I remember telling friends, like, if I managed to leave him, I'm never going to date. I'm never going to remarry. I'm never going to, because this guy was it for me. I'm never going to do, I'm just going to be a spinster with my cats.
Oh my God.
It's so funny, right? And
No,
then like, I'm sat here.
I said, I was like, at least 2 years minimum. Like, this is awful. And then I started dating 6 months later, but that's another story.
Yeah. So and we should talk about that. We should do one on that. But yeah, like a similar thing. Like I'm sat here and I'm in a very, very early relationship. It's very, very new. Like it's in its infancy, but I'm in love. I've fallen in love with a wonderful man, and we might not work out. We might not be forever, and I'm aware of that, which is something I wasn't aware when I got into my previous relationship. Like it was definitely going to be forever. Like I am aware that it might not be forever, and I know that we can't. Nothing is promised. But I never thought, first of all, I never thought that anybody would love me because I was so conditioned into this idea that nobody would want me. Literally 3 weeks on Tinder taught me everything I need to know about the possibilities of dating. Like I literally was ignoring 2,500 guys at one point, which was a real ego boost. I've got to say, like I'm not interested in 2,500 guys, but my God, like for somebody who's been told that she's an ugly, fat, dirty, horrible person, like these guys didn't care. They all thought I was pretty cool, and it's shallow stuff, but still, like there's a little bit of a
there's still something that feels good about it, because it affirms that you are attractive, you are desirable, and everything else, right?
Do you know what it really did for me? I love that, and don't get me wrong, I am the type of person that wants to be attractive, and I'm not saying that I'm above that when I give you this statement, but more than all of those things, it proved him wrong.
Yeah.
More than all of those things, it put a shadow of doubt on some of the most horrible things he used to say to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not funny, and we shouldn't laugh, but we might not be able to not. The number of his friends who matched me on Tinder.
Ooh, burn! I love it. That
now, obviously,
really happy.
obviously, not interested at all.
No.
Not even in the slightest. But for somebody who would say to me, boom, nobody else would have you, blah, 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 you fat ugly, blah, blah, blah. Like literally your entire friend group, mate, given half a chance, and friends that you've not spoken to in years. One of them came up to me in a nightclub on Friday where I was out for my friend's birthday. One of them came up to me in a nightclub and literally the first thing he said to me was like, wow, given half a chance, I would. And I was like, yeah, no chances here. I mean, no chances, but thank you for the compliment, and I don't need that. But that's what he was trying to shield me from. And he even did it. Unfortunately, I suffered a bit of additional abuse just this weekend. He sent the profile picture of my WhatsApp to our daughter and basically said to her, like, oh, your mum looks ugly there. She doesn't look very happy there. Like, so he's still trying to degrade me, but through the people around me. And if anything, it's sad now. It's sad now. It's over. It's done. Let it go. Let it go. He's in a new relationship as well. And the lady that he's with, we have mutual friends. And obviously I'm not allowed to speak to her. God knows we will never be allowed in the same room in case she realizes that I'm actually a nice person. But she's a nice person. She has no idea. She thinks she's met Prince Charming. And yeah, it's so weird. It's so weird. Like the whole dynamic is so weird. But one of the things that I struggle with still is like publicly talking about it and publicly doing things about it. And it was only when he got into his new relationship earlier on in the year and the abuse continued. And I thought, no, that's not fair. You literally have a girl like in my house, in my bed right now, and you're still being horrible to me. No, that's not how it works. And it shifted something. And now there's no holds barred. Like if I need to report something to the police, I will. If I need to go to my solicitor for paperwork and I need to be strong about getting legally free of him, I will. Like there's no loyalty left in being decent. I'm not being undecent either, but
But you're taking care of
close.
yourself and your kids and everything
Right.
else.
Right. I'm being cordial. I'm being professional. I'm not being horrible, but like we're not going to evade the divorce anymore. No, no, no. And we're not going to do the illegal things to me without them being reported to the police
Yeah.
anymore. No, no, no. Like all of the things that protected you before have gone. They've
Yeah.
gone. I'm protecting me and my children and my situation. And I hope to, all of the universal energies that we get untangled and you go your way and I go my way and we all find happiness separately. And that's all I want. But I think when you're in that, if somebody had said to me when I was in the abusive relationship how messy it was going to be in breaking up without explaining how wonderful it is to be free, I would have delayed it even further as well. And this is why so many women do.
Yeah. And it's hard. I think sometimes it's hard to see the light on the other side, and it's hard to to get through how difficult it is and how messy things can get. It's like
Yeah.
I'm lucky there was a mess, but it wasn't like it wasn't too bad um,
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things. But it was, I mean, I was completely destroyed at the end of it. You know,
Yeah.
I often speak about how when I came out, I felt like, the firefighters carrying me out of a fire. And that would have been my friends and my lawyers and my therapists and my mom. My
Yeah.
mom came and helped me redo my entire house. I was basically just like a vegetable almost because I couldn't cope with anything. I
Yeah.
I'm happy that you're in a new relationship. I have been with my boyfriend now, I guess, for 2.5 years, roughly,
Yeah.
and it's it's so shocking, and things come up for me all the time from the past, and it's so different when you've got somebody who's encouraging your growth. For one, they're cheering for you,
Yeah.
they're proud of you. If you're going to be like, just because we love her, the next Taylor Swift, he's going to be the one who's cheering for you and like, yes, like I knew you could do it, I'm so proud of you. Doesn't want to steal the
Yeah.
limelight, wants to, like, and really gives that kind of extra reassurance when you are kind of, you go back to those moments or you feel triggered, listens and assures you that it's not like that and you're safe and everything else.
Yeah.
I think for me that's also been really helpful in like transforming myself after coming out, and also being just like helping me push myself forward, on the
Right.
whole business and life journey, showing up for
Right.
myself more than I ever have.
So I had an interesting conversation with my therapist, and I'm not actually seeing her at the moment. But we had a really good conversation, and because I sometimes I am still triggered by the way I was treated in my previous relationship. I do second guess and doubt myself sometimes, and I had this conversation. I was like, this because my boyfriend, who I'm with right now, he is incredible. He's an incredible human, and when I say he's incredible, I mean he's incredible in a way that he has completely shifted my perception of what a relationship could be for me, like completely. He was never meant to be this for me. I'm sure. I'm sure you're supposed to go out and meet and have a few shallow rebound type relationships or whatever. I didn't. I walked straight into a situation with a man, and I don't know whether he will be my romantic partner forever, because I no longer live in a world where I feel like forever can be guaranteed.
Yeah.
Like that just doesn't exist for me anymore. But I know that he's going to be part of my life forever. He may end up being my like a really significant best friend. You know what I mean? Like, we might not be romantically inclined forever, but he's going nowhere. I've fallen for him as a person more than just like, oh, he's incredibly fit, but more than just he's incredibly fit and I fancy him. Like, intellectually and emotionally, he's hit me on a level that I've never been hit before. And I know that no matter what happens next, he's going to be part of my life. And that gives me such a comfort. That gives me such a joy. And I had this conversation. I was like, why would this amazing, incredible person? He also is awful at recognizing how incredible he is as well. But like he really doesn't understand what a prize he is. But, I talked to her and I was like, he's going to think that I am crazy. Like, why would he want to be with somebody that's such a Fruit Loop after everything that I've been through? I come to this with a lot. Like, why would he be willing to take this on? And she said to me, she just said, well, first and foremost, you're not qualified to decide what he wants and what he needs. Maybe you've hit him on a level that he's never been hit before. Like, that's totally possible. She said, but also, like, there are certain things for everybody, for each person. You can't heal relationship trauma or relationship wounds or the difficulties you've had when you've had relationships as a single person. Those things are healed in a good relationship. Like, those wounds are healed every single time that you think, oh, this is going to happen because this is what I'm used to, and you get a different experience and your mind is expanded because you're like, wow, these things actually do occur. I also read this amazing thing, Ash, that I think you will love. Did you know, and this is crazy for us, but because the way that we work and what we do, when we're trying to visualize our future selves and we're trying to manifest our future selves and what we want, our brains can't comprehend experiences that they haven't had. So even your imagination only relies on experiences. Your imagination creates a picture, but it only can use the colors you've already had. You cannot create a new color or imagine a new experience if you've never experienced it. Your brain cannot imagine something it hasn't already been fed in some degree, which means that when we're manifesting these great relationships, we're manifesting these great lives, we're manifesting these great businesses, we're actually only capable of imagining experiences we've already had, which is why the good advice is to go live and seek out new experiences because until you date the intellectual guy that keeps you up till 3:00 in the morning talking about politics or history or whatever, you have no comprehension that you could enjoy an existence with those types of joys woven in, right? Like, we kind of, sometimes we will glorify those people who don't seek, who are stable and settled and know what they want already and just stay within their lane. And I'm like, we're literally depriving our brains from experiences that we may love, that we can't comprehend yet. We genuinely can't comprehend them. It's not possible for us to comprehend them. And again, if you think about the internet, this is where the internet helps expand our brain, because maybe we don't have to go and walk that trail in Bali. Maybe we can go on YouTube and we can actually watch that. Right. Maybe that's where we took it from, right? But these experiences, we need that. Otherwise we couldn't.
That's so true, and it makes so much sense, and
right?
It makes me happy. But it's, I don't know, and it is amazing just how, like, you get the right people around you, and then how your life starts to transform, and whether it's romantic or just like meeting you, being my friend, it's really special. God, why do I always get emotional on my podcast?
Like, no, but it is really special.
Cried, but it's okay. But
it's okay, and it is emotional. And you know what? It's a beautiful thing that you recognize it as well, because one of the things that I say a lot of the times is the gratitude that I have for the people that are around me. And also what's really interesting is that when I say that, the people around me that I have around me are not just people that I've met in the time where I've broken up from the abusive relationship. People who were there, who I have pushed away, or I've treated badly, or I have lied to in not telling them what's really going on. I'm so lucky because so many of those people came with me and they kind of knew what was going on. And I think that's one of the reasons why they held on to me, even if they had to hold on to me at some distance sometimes. They never fully went away, and they always gave me the opportunity to come back into, stage right. What you're experiencing when you have that gratitude for the people around you allows you to attract more.
Don't
It
make me
allows you
cry.
to attract more good people. Oh, don't cry.
It's
Don't cry,
been,
darling. It's a good thing.
but you know what? It makes me think about like after uh, when I was going through some of the therapy, she said to ask people kind of like what they like about me. I'm going to be so honest and say I never knew how much I was loved by people. I never knew.
Yeah. And our big mission now, our mission now is to accept it. And I still struggle with that.
Yeah.
And I make a joke about the fact that I am a Tinkerbell, and if there isn't applause, I will die. Um, because I do thrive on external validation. It's something that I'm working on myself. But I do thrive on it, and I do constantly want it, and I want to know. But one of the reasons why I operate in that way is because somewhere deep down, I have had this belief that I'm now breaking down and changing, which I think will take a bit of time. But I've had this belief that I'm not good. So I need to hear it. I
Yeah.
need to hear that
Oh
I'm
my
loved.
God,
I
that's
need to
so
hear,
true. It's so
right?
relatable.
So, right, like I mean, we had a little bit of a joke about it with Danielle the other day, but you could literally go to any single woman who identifies with having a praise kink and say, okay, where's your trauma? At what point did somebody tell you you weren't good enough? Because psychologically, like we need constant reassurance. And I do think that there is a massive amount of my business growing, and the audience, and the feedback that I get from the audience, and the awards that I win, and stuff. Like, if you were to scratch underneath it, there will be motivations for me, if I'm completely open, honest, and
Yeah.
vulnerable, where I, as soon as I got a taste of people actually appreciating and valuing me, I wanted more. Like, I needed more. And now what that has created such a beautiful thing was, it's almost like each time somebody loved on me and I believed it just a tiny bit, and then that was another stepping stone out of the quicksand. And now I feel like I'm on some sort of stable ground, where it's not that I don't need that external validation anymore. I still very much do, because I'm still very much in my healing of this. It's still, it's a work in progress right now. But oh my God, those little external validations fed me enough to get me to the point where now I actually have the bandwidth to break that belief system down. Like, come and speak to me in 2-3 years from now. I might actually love myself, like truly all the way through love myself, to the point where I don't need that external validation. It's just a lovely overflow of what I already embody. And that, for me, that feels really freaking powerful. And if there was anything I could give to another person, it doesn't even need to be a woman, but if there was anything I could give to another human, if I could have a superpower, that would be it.
Yeah.
I would touch you on your hand, and you would see yourself through the eyes of the people that love you, and you would believe it.
Yeah. It's, I was just thinking while you're saying all that, it's another one of my therapists said to me, you need to have like 5 positives to cancel out 1 negative that was told to you. So I
Yeah.
think about it, and I mean, I can say probably around 5 would probably be when my "you're not good enough" started. And it's been, for the last, whatever, how old am I? 32 years then. And
Super young. You're super young,
right.
darling. Super
And
young. Right.
And but so it's been over 30 years of you are not good enough. And now I think maybe do we need this like excess validation where other people don't, because we need our fives to make up for like 30 the
Right.
30 years, right? So we need,
Right.
just say it was one a year, we need however many that is, 50, yeah, a lot. But
Yeah. And
you know what I
also, we're
mean?
talking about external stimuli. I do 100%. And the external stimuli, because again, going back to that, we don't all start from the same starting block. You know that I am neurodiverse. I have ADHD.
Yeah.
So for me, you're not good enough may be different to a neurotypical's you're not good enough, because in a neurotypical experience, they might walk into the nursery room as a child, find somebody else that they connect with, understand the social cues that are happening around them and fit in. Whereas my not good enough, I would walk into that same nursery room and be trying to make friends with every single person without any pickiness on my side at all, and be constantly rejected
Yeah.
because I didn't understand the social cues, or I was too giddy, or, now as it happens for me, I don't know why, I don't know whether this is something that I masked early on because I was around adults all of the time as a child, I have been able to make friends, but the friendships have always been shallow.
Yeah.
My first deep friendship, and she gets a mention in everything because I still love her, was my friend Kate. Now, she got a mention in my book, and she's getting a mention today. Because she was the first one. She was not an easy friendship either. We fell out, and there was conflict, but she never fully went away. And we got back in touch in our teenage years. We got back in touch in our 20s. We hardly ever see each other. She lives in Taiwan most of the time, but we chat semi-regularly, and it wouldn't matter if there'd been 10 years between us, 17 years between us, or 17 days, we always reconnect on the same level. And she is my longest withstanding friend. She's a beautiful, beautiful soul, and I'll never forget one of the reasons why I knew she would be a forever friend. And I met her in primary school. I think at one point we fell out because she accused me of stealing some crayons out of her pencil case. Like, I've got a vague memory of that. I'll have to ask her what happened with that, because my ADHD brain doesn't remember lots of things, but like, I've got a really weird vague memory of that, which is hilarious to me now. But I'd kind of been in and out of contact with her on a low level, and wouldn't have necessarily have been able to say with confidence that we would be a long-term friend. And when my dad passed away in 2006, I didn't have the capacity to, because it was pre-Facebook, didn't have the capacity to tell all of my people.
Right.
And I'm grateful for this. This is an experience I'm grateful for that people who have social media now will never experience, which is sad. But like, I didn't know how far the ripple effect of talk went in terms of people knowing that my dad had died. And there were 2 or 3 people who, when I turned up to the crematorium that day, they were stood in the crowd for me. And I hadn't contacted them to tell them my dad had died. And I don't know how, still to this day, I'm not sure how they found out. But they did. And they were there. And I turned around and I'm looking at this crowd of people, looking for people who were there for my dad. And I actually saw 2 or 3 very significant people who loved my dad, but they were there for me. Right. And I remember thinking, fuck, people do care about me. Like this. And Kate was one of them. And she was just stood there, and she had a flower or something. And she'd brought me a flower, and she was just stood there looking so beautiful in her black outfit. And she looked at me with this look of absolute sorrow, but total love. And I just thought, wow, she's forever. She's forever. And that might be the moment I realized that actually I do have friends. And this narrative that I told myself, you're great at making friends, but not for a long time. Not, they come and they go. I realize now some friends do come and go. Yeah. And some friends stick to your face like an octopus, and you can't ever get rid of them. And that's brilliant. And you need that. And this is what I'm saying about my fella now. He's an octopus sticker. I know already, regardless of whether, regardless of what happens next, he's too important to go anywhere. He's not going anywhere. He might shift. His role might shift, but he's a main character.
Oh, makes me really happy.
I mean, I'm trying not, because you know me, I'm a hopeless romantic, and limerence is a big thing for me. I've married this man 6 million times in my brain already. Like every single potential wedding experience that is available to you, I've dreamt it up. I've dreamt up our entire lives together. But I also have to recognize that, I'm great at daydreaming, and I also have to be practical. And I also I'm learning that you don't have to try and control the outcome of these things. I can love this man wholly, whether he is my partner or whether he turns into my friend. Like, it doesn't matter. He's already my friend. And this is the difference in any relationship that I've had before this one, is that I had romantic relationships with people who were romantic prospects. There was only ever one relationship that I had that was more friendship based than relationship based. Right. And that fizzled out quickly because there wasn't enough of the non-platonic stuff for us to be boyfriend and girlfriend. I should never have let that dude go. He should have been my friend forever, but I did let him go because I thought he was either my boyfriend or he was nothing. I didn't have the emotional intelligence. I was 19, so I didn't have the emotional intelligence that I have now. But I recognize that this is the first relationship that I've actually had both. Definitely. I've either had that chemistry of relationship, like romance, not even romance sometimes, but sometimes just like lust. Awful to admit, but true. Like, I fancy him and there's potential there. That's been the energy, other than one other relationship. And that relationship was never had. I mean, I did fancy him, but there was no desire coming back from him. It was very platonic. And I actually know why now, which I can't say. I'll tell you personally, but there was a reason for it. There was a medication involved that I wasn't aware of at the time that I was dating him that had shifted the way he behaved. So had he not have been on that medication at that time, we might have had a completely different experience together. Anyway, that's by the by. My point is, this is the first time where I've had that energy of both. This guy is too important and too significant to me that he won't ever not be my pal, but actually I fancy the pants off him as well.
Aww. And it's interesting that you say that, because now that if I think about it, I'm like, okay, I've been married twice, and both of them, like, we were friends, but it was probably romantic prospect to start. With him, it was truly just friendship. I was married when I met him. We were friends.
Yeah.
We met during a fitness challenge, and just
brilliant.
we were just friends, part of this community, and then and then after, we're talking about the guy he lives in the States, okay? So he would stay up the entire night to make sure my therapy sessions were okay. He would,
that's sweet.
It would be like 7 a.m. his time. I want to make sure that you're feeling okay. If you need anything. Nobody has ever done anything like that for me before. And there was just this point, he was doing it as a good friend to make sure that I was okay. And then, I don't know, something happened several months in, and I was like, shit, I think I love you. But it's definitely not a bad thing. God, I'm so thankful for it. And he because, okay, I'm undiagnosed, but I am certain I am also ADHD. But he kind of helps keep me level, and, helps me take those quiet moments. And I'm just like, we're so balancing and so just like everything is just easy and nice, and we can talk, and I don't, I don't have to be scared. Like,
Yeah.
it's so nurturing, and it's I don't know. I think about it, I'm just like, wow, I'm really, really grateful.
Yeah, one of the things I used to say all of the time is a similar feeling. And I would say, I'm so grateful for you. And one of the things that he always says to me is, I'm just bang average. I'm bang average. Because first of all, he doesn't recognize his own like light. But also because he recognizes in me, there is a truth in that, just normal bare minimum caring about somebody else for me feels profound, because I've not had that.
Yes.
I've had the illusion of it. I've had the words, but then the actions didn't match the words. I've had somebody tell me they care about me. I've had somebody turn up to help me out and make it look like they care about me, but there was always a payoff. There was always a trade-off. Like, for instance, I don't know if it's the same with you in your abusive relationship, but for me, say, for instance, that person would do a good thing for you. They would do it and it would look like they'd done it for you because they cared about you. But then the following day, there would be a row or some sort of transactional requirement in, like, I didn't do this thing to not get the thing that I need. And like, it messes with your head, because you're like, wait a minute, this person does care about me, because they wouldn't come and like, I don't know, build a unit for me if they didn't care about me. But then like the next day there would be a row and something of your identity would need to be taken away. And then you're like, no, that's not cool. I'm not going to do that for you. And it'd be like, well, I came here and I built that unit for you and you can't even do. And it was like, wow, that makes sense now. The genuine care of having somebody give a shit without there being a transactional reason for it, without it having to be 50-50, or not even 50-50, but like I give you this so I get this. He doesn't appreciate how special that is to me. Sometimes he's like, oh, I think it's just because you've been treated badly you think that this is special. And I'm like, no, I think what it is yes, I have been treated badly, and yes, therefore maybe there is a higher level of awareness to when you do things that normal people do that I'm like, oh wow, this is great, because I'm not used to it.
Yes.
But I live my life in a state of gratitude. So I try not to take things that other people would consider to be small things for granted either. Unfortunately, I also do it in a negative way as well. Sometimes small things hurt me that other people wouldn't sweat. So there is a bit of balance there. But I think when you recognize that somebody can care and not necessarily be doing it from a darker place, it does kind of creep up on you. And my problem is, and I said this earlier and I'll say it again because it bears repeating, I am a hopeless romantic. And I am the type of person that I believe I can have what I want. So every single rom-com I watch, every single romantic book I've ever read, every desire I have to experience that high level, cherished, oh my God, you are my everything moment, every single moment that we just go, oh, I am awful, because I believe it's out there for me. I believe I can have it. And, with every other aspect of my life, the things I believe I can have, I've manifested and I've found them and I've got them.
Right.
And everything else that I want, I feel very confident that I'll just do the same thing. So this now is the tester, because I could not have that within my abusive relationship. It was not available to me. So the abusive relationship has been removed. It's gone.
Yeah.
And it's removed now, to an extent. Right.
Now
so now I've met somebody incredible. It's available. And it's about whether those things occur? I don't know. And I'm not trying to control them. I want them. I'll bring them in. I'll attract them. One way or another, they will be part of my existence. One way or another, he will be part of my existence. Will the two things be the same? Who knows? But I'm excited. And I'm so grateful for him. Even if he was to turn up tomorrow and be like, this has been great, but no more, I'd still be so grateful for him.
Yeah. I can
like to my
completely
bones.
understand that. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I so understand. Oh. When do you think okay, so I guess a few things. You talk about having ADHD, and
Yeah.
I know you also talk about it as a superpower, which I completely agree with. Um, but do you think that like sometimes it makes relationships a bit difficult and has it I know even like for business you talk about like okay, your team, they manage your time basically and they tell you,
Yeah.
Dawni, here now, do this, do that.
Yeah.
So there's so does it hurt you in some ways, but more so tell people how it helps you because even like my son is diagnosed and I I want him to know too that like it is a superpower. It is something that you can do incredible things with once you tap in.
Right. So, I mean, from my perspective, and this is the way that I kind of live my life and I teach other people and I support other people with, and this is where the multipotentialite multiverse comes from, is that I don't think brains are bad. I don't think that a brain that is neurotypical is bad. I don't think that a brain that has BPD is bad. I don't think that a brain that has ADHD is bad. I don't think a brain has a moral denomination. Okay? I think your brain is your brain. You're built with it and it has quirks and frameworks already built in, and you get what you're given. Okay, the person who has schizophrenia never asked for schizophrenia. The person who has depression never picked depression on a bingo card. Like, we have what we have and we do what we do with it. I actually think out of all of the things that you can be gifted by your brain in terms of extracurricular activities, being neurodiverse is really not that bad.
No.
And don't get me wrong, some days the symptoms of us having brains that are wired differently can present themselves in ways that make us work harder to live life in the way culturally life is set up. It's not set up for neurodiverse. It's that simple. Okay. I get that. But just in the same way that somebody out there is dealing with a physical chronic illness and not using that to stop them, I would love for people who are neurodiverse to recognize that there are ways that this can be actually pretty wonderful and that you can have a great fulfilled life and live in a completely different positive way than perhaps you currently perceive. So for me, the symptoms of ADHD, I do need to say it because again, in terms of genetic lottery, there's a lot of privileges that I don't ignore. And my ADHD symptoms are very normal, bog standard ADHD symptoms. It's like the default setting of ADHD player mode.
Right.
I do struggle with memory. I do struggle with organization sometimes. I have object permanence. I forget that things exist if they're not right in front of my face. I struggle with my mental health on the back of it, specifically rejection sensitive dysmorphia is one of the hardest, or disorder, some people call it disorder. I take criticism badly. I do sometimes have days where my brain lies to me and tells me that I'm a burden and all of my friends secretly hate me and nobody really loves me, nobody really wants to be around me, and that's hard. But all of those things are manageable, and I manage them without medication because the gifts on the other side of them are crazy good. So yeah, okay, I'm not the person who's going to time block, and I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm just not, it's just not in my remit to do that. But you give me a deadline of, getting something done in 5 hours from now. Not only will I meet that deadline, but I will create whatever it is I need to do in that time with such excellence that you will think I've worked on it for the last 4 weeks. And like, this is the prime thing that I always love asking people who think they might be neurodiverse but don't realize that they are, is that like, how did you do in your school exams? Like, how did you do in your dissertations at uni? Like how much research did you actually do, and what result did you get? And I can almost guarantee that the majority of us did fuck all research, rocked up a few hours before we needed to do the thing, we winged it, and then came out with better results than some of our neurotypical friends that had been revising and researching for months.
I feel
Right?
seen. And you know what? Okay, the times where I actually would study, I bombed the tests. Bombed them.
Right, because you
So I was
filled
like,
your
fuck it.
brain too much.
Yeah.
yeah,
I stopped.
yeah, because we don't operate in that way.
No.
We don't operate in that way. You know, another good indicator for people who are neurodiverse is to ask them what their response to COVID was. So how did you emotionally handle COVID, and what did you physically do in terms of action to do with COVID? And look around at the people who did. Look around at the people who went to the store and filled up on supplies. Look around at the people who knew we were going to go into lockdown the week before we did go into lockdown and called it and knew it was going to happen and sensed it in an intuitive way. This is what the government's going to do next. I feel like this is what we need to prepare for. Okay. The people who in a crisis, neurodivergent people tend to go, okay, put me in. I'm ready, because we live every single day to a certain degree in our own personal crisis. The big shit doesn't feel that big. Neurotypical people crumbled, and the neurodiverse went out. Like, you ask me that question, what did you do? Well, I'll tell you the things that I do. I was still with my ex at the time. I told my ex-husband the week before we were going into lockdown, you're going to go into lockdown. I know that you're going to be at home. We need to prepare for that. The kids won't be going to school or nursery. We need to prepare for that. I need to look at the people in my family who are vulnerable. We need to make sure that they have everything that they need. Funnily enough, I do believe that my entire family, and they love me for this because nobody's willing to go and get diagnosed and nobody cares, but I believe my entire family are on the spectrum.
Right.
My sisters, my brother-in-law, Steve, they all did the same thing. Okay, who in the family is vulnerable? What do they need? So once all my family unit was sorted, I then went and I created a community group that quickly had 25,000 vulnerable people in Blackpool. And we matched them with volunteers. And for the first 3 months before our local council got their shit together, me and a handful of my friends matched volunteers with vulnerable people until the local council got their shit together. And that's what we did. That's what the neurodiverse was doing during COVID.
Well, you know what, Dawni, thank you so much for being here and talking about all of your experiences in business and with your past relationships and with ADHD. I really, really appreciate it. And it's given a lot of people a lot of insight, I think, that they'll be able to take away and apply to their lives and understand that the potential is there, the multi potential of everything that they do. If people want to find you online, where can they find you? What's the best place? And we're going to, of course, link everything in the show notes. But thank you again for being here. Let us know where we can find you.
Darling, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I'm everywhere. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. You can find me pretty much anywhere on the internet. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on today. What a discussion. I could probably talk all day. But it's been so good, and we should do this again.
Yes, please. I think we definitely need to. I'm really excited. We're definitely going to have a round two. I'm probably going to have to split this into 2 episodes as well. And and so I think it's going to be perfect. But you have so much insight, so much light, and so much to offer people. it truly means the world that you could take the time to be with us today. So we'll put links for everybody to find your podcasts, your Instagrams, your TikToks, your Facebook groups, everywhere. And then I guess we'll let you go for now.
Thank you. Thank you so much, darling. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dawni. Have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Healthy Metal Hippie podcast. If you're looking for more, head to healthymetalhippie.com and let's connect. Until next time, wishing you a magical week. See you later.